Here in Los Angeles. I gotta get your fighter analysis on a few fights coming up, man. You're always so good with these.
Yeah.
First off, Benavidez versus Andrade. How do you see that fight?
Benavidez versus Andrade. Boo Boo. I didn't know he was that big, right? Yeah. Put a little further.
Yeah.
Getting my nose hairs.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Boo Boo versus Benavidez. I didn't know how big he was, first of all. So when I saw him next to Benavidez, it gave me more of a little hope that he's gonna do well in the first half of the fight. But I think Benavidez is a monster. He's gonna come forward. He has a lot of aggression, but he knows how to use it. His footwork is great. I think the pressure is gonna be a little too much for Boo Boo.
You think it'll force a stoppage, or will
It could force a stoppage.
Yeah.
But who knows? Boo Boo he's a fighter, man. He's a fighter.
Now, on the flip side, how can Boo Boo win that fight?
If he stays disciplined.
Yeah.
Look, and this is exactly what I said with Canelo and Charlo. If Charlo fights a perfect fight and stays disciplined the whole night, but obviously he didn't show up to fight, so there was no fight whatsoever. Yeah. So that went out the window. My analogy went out the window. But if Boo Boo comes to fight and doesn't do a Charlo, if he stays disciplined and sticks to his game plan, yeah, look, Boo Boo's style can frustrate anybody, but he has to stay disciplined and have great conditioning.
How hard is it to stop a pressure guy like David that just keeps coming? Like, how do you nullify a pressure style?
Angles. It's all angles.
Yeah.
Look at Zurdo Ramirez and Joe Smith. It's all angles. Zurdo Ramirez was throwing punches, moving side to side. Look at what Mayweather does to including myself. You try to be aggressive and you try to knock his head off, but if he figures out those angles, you get frustrated. That's exactly what Mayweather does. So it's all about staying, and that's the one thing that Mayweather has, is that he stayed disciplined throughout his whole career. So, it obviously worked for him.
I know I've asked you this before about David fighting Canelo. It's been said like the winner could potentially fight Canelo depending on how they look. In your opinion, from what you've seen of David at this point, does he beat a Canelo from what we saw in the Charlo fight?
Yeah, I think he knocks him out.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
I really do think so. I mean, Benavidez is a monster. He throws. Benavidez throws literally an average of above 50 to 55 punches around.
Yeah.
Canelo, Charlo, in the first round, they threw one punch combined. So I'm just talking to you as a boxing expert.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you as, oh, I hate Canelo, oh, I hate Benavidez. No, I'm talking about a boxing expert. Those are the facts. That's reality on paper. Now, what happens in the ring and the bell rings, I don't know.
But you'd favor David even at this point still?
Well, just by studying and being a historian of boxing, I mean, the writing's on the wall, I mean, if Benavidez is going to throw 50-plus punches around, then guess who's going to win? I'm not sure how strong Benavidez's chin is. It hasn't really been tested. I don't know if it's been dropped, I think. Canelo's been rocked.
Yeah.
So, it all depends. I mean, if Canelo lands that one bomb that he always throws, the right hand, I mean, it's sayonara. It's game over for Benavidez. But I think Benavidez, because he's young, because he's strong, because he's very versatile and throws a lot of punches, it's going to create problems for Canelo.
I didn't get a chance to ask you the other day. I spoke with Eddie on Tuesday, and he told me that potentially Ryder and Munguia is something you guys are working on for next year. Can you give me an update on that, and is that accurate?
Sure, yeah, that's the fight that we would love to see. And the reason I would love to see it is because Munguia fighting Ryder, a guy that has never been knocked out or stopped. My promoters, thinking cap is on and thinking, wow, imagine if Munguia can knock out Ryder. What a statement that would be. So it's very attractive to make that fight. So hopefully we can do that and possibly early January.
LA fight, Mexico fight.
That I like that fight for Vegas, actually.
Vegas,
Yeah. I like that fight for Vegas. I love doing business here in California, but since now I'm moving to Las Vegas, I'm doing something really big in Vegas that is going to shock the world. So I would love to take more events to Las Vegas and bring back the fight capital of the world, which is Las Vegas.
Just got to do a follow-up. I know this will be the last one. The Sphere, is that in your plans to put a fight there?
I would love to be the very first one. I'm currently now talking to the right people in order to make something special happen at the Sphere with big names, the perfect fight. And so, the talks are ongoing, so we'll see what happens.
What would be that fight?
I don't know yet. But it would definitely include a Ryan Garcia.
All right. Hey, Oscar, it's always good catching up with you. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Man.
The end of Showtime. No more boxing. End of 2023. They're not broadcasting it. Just your reaction overall about how this can impact the sport of boxing.
It's a sad moment. I mean, it's a sad moment for boxing. Showtime really did a great job in giving us amazing fights over the years. With Tyson and Chavez, and Felix Trinidad. And recently giving us Crawford with Spence and Tank. So they will be missed. I strongly feel that when somebody exits the sport of boxing, they leave a nice memory in many people's minds, especially the Showtime that just again did a tremendous job. But life goes on, and boxing goes on, and boxing moves forward, and there will be many other platforms, many more opportunities for young fighters to showcase their talent, and it's our job as promoters to go find them, to go look for them, to go and see who is willing to fill that void.
Is it a bad thing for the sport? Does this hurt the sport that now it's not on any network and it's all on apps now?
I'm not sure if it hurts it, because obviously the cord is being cut by many people across the globe. Does it affect it? Maybe a bit, because people are so used to watching Showtime and watching HBO and on linear TV. But our this generation is moving forward in how they want to consume their programming. And so digital platforms are now the future and the way to go. But you never know. Maybe somebody might come in and seize the opportunity, because there is a void, but with those voids creates opportunities.
You weren't on Twitter. You expressed kind of what you said just now about Showtime going on, but you also said it. Now it's the time also to everyone to come together. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you meant by that tweet?
Yeah, the tweet about coming together with promoters. Look, whether it's Bob Arum, whether it's Al Heyman, whether it's Eddie Hearn, any promoter out there who we can make fights with, is just great for the sport. Leave your ego aside. Business will be business. Let's figure this out for the sake of the sport. And fighters like Canelo, for instance, they must step up and fight the big names. They must fight the Benavidez, the guys like Crawford, create excitement on a global scale. Let's continue and try and make these big major fights happen, and the sport will continue to grow. Like I said, wherever there's void, there's opportunity, and I strongly feel that I think boxing will survive, but boxing will come back and be bigger and better than ever.
Terrence replied to your tweet. He said he disagreed with what you said, but then you also responded to him. What's the difference in viewpoints there? Why do you feel that the viewpoint that you expressed on Twitter is different from his? But what's your reasoning behind that? Because he didn't agree with what you said.
And he didn't agree. I understand.
Respectfully.
I understand why. Respectfully, but respectfully, I've been a fighter, and I've gone in my own way. when it comes to negotiating a fight, because I have an ego, especially when I'm a fighter. So when I'm a fighter and I'm sitting down on a table with my potential opponent in front of me and with the people that I delegate that are smart, that are business people, it just does not work because there's too many egos in the table. But if you're a fighter and you delegate your team, if you delegate your smart team to take care of the job at hand, and your job as a fighter is to train, your job is to focus on the job at hand. When I started doing that and becoming a businessman before I was a fighter, guess what? My focus was on business instead of the fight, and I started losing. It happens. So focus on the job at hand. Your window is so short. There's a window of opportunity. Take advantage of it as a fighter. Train hard. Do your job. But yeah, obviously, you're the boss. You're the boss, but delegate your trustworthy, smart people who can take care of the job.
This will be the last one on this because I do want to touch on this fight and Ryan Garcia returning as well. I don't know, who's at fault for this happening? Is it because of the fights that we've been seeing on the network with Showtime exiting boxing? Is it what they were putting on? Is it just a natural evolution of the marketplace? Like this was going to happen regardless? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't want to start pointing fingers and the blame game and this and that. But all I can say is that Showtime gave us some great fights. And that's all I can say. They gave us some great fights, and it's unfortunate that they're exiting the game. But like I said, life goes on. And we must, as promoters, the people who are behind the scenes in the industry trying to make things happen, it's up to us to find those new partners, those TV partners, those broadcasters and find a new home.
And finally, Ryan returning to the ring. It's anticipated to be his first fight since his loss to Gervonta Davis. Sure. Just overall, for him, we've talked about wanting to see that Teofimo Lopez fight. Duarte, though, is he's tough. He's going to test Ryan, but that is still the goalpost for him is that fight with Teo at 140 after this if he wins.
Well, that's one of the options. That's one of the options, but
maybe Devin too, huh?
Absolutely, he's one of the options. Look, Ryan Garcia getting knocked out by Tank, but coming back against Duarte, I mean, you have to take your hat off to him, because what fighter does that? What fighter comes back after a knockout loss and comes back with a guy who is a knockout puncher? Duarte is no walk in the park. And Duarte knows this is a tremendous opportunity on a huge stage. So I commend both guys for taking this fight, especially Ryan, because like I said, winning this fight, if he wins this fight, the opportunities are endless. Fighting for a world title, fighting on the big stage again, on pay-per-view, and fighting the top guys in the world.
All right, Oscar, it's good chatting with you. I really appreciate my man. Here with Oscar De La Hoya, Marcos Villegas, Fight Up TV.